The third law, make it easy. Walk, chapter 11, walk slowly but never backward. On the first day of chess, Jerry Ulsman, a professor at the University of Florida, divided his film photography students into two groups. Everyone on the left side of the classroom, he explained, would be in the quantity group. They would be they would be graded slowly. They would graded solely on the amount of work they produced. On the final day of class, he would he would he would tally the number of photos submitted by each student. 100 photos would rate an A, 90 photos a B, 80 photos a C, and so on. Meanwhile, everyone on the right side of the room would be in the quality group. They would be graded only on the excellence of their work. They would only need to produce one photo during the semester, but to get an A, it had to be a nearly perfect image. At the end of the term, he was surprised to find that all the best photos were the produced by the quantity group. During the semester, these students were busy taking photos, experimenting with composition and lighting, testing out various methods in the dark room, and learning from their mistakes. In the process of creating hundreds of photos, they honed their skills. Meanwhile, the quality group sat around speculating about perfection. In the end, they had little to show for their efforts other than unverified theories and one mediocre photo. It is easy to get bogged down trying to find the optimal plan for change, the fastest way to lose weight, the best program to build muscle, the perfect idea for a side hustle. We are so focused on figuring our best approach that we never get around taking action. As Voltaire once wrote, the best is the enemy of the good. The best is the enemy of the good. I refer to this as the difference between being in motion and and taking action. The two ideas sound similar, but they are not the same. When you are in motion, you planning and strategizing and learning. Those are all good things, but they don't produce a result. Action on the other hand is the type of behavior that will deliver an outcome. If I outline 20 ideas for article I want to write, that's motion. If I actually sit down to write an article, that is action. If I search for a better diet plan and read a few books on the topic, that's motion. If I actually eat healthy meal, that is action. Sometimes motions is useful, but it will never produce an outcome by itself. It doesn't matter how many times you go talk to the personal trainer, that motion will never get you in shape. Only the action of working out will get the result you are looking to achieve. If motion doesn't lead to results, why do we do it? Sometimes we do it because we actually need a plan or learn more. But more often than not, we do it because motion allows us to feel like we are making progress without running the risk of failure. Most of us are experts at avoiding criticism. It doesn't feel good to fail or to be judged publicly, so we tend to avoid situations where that might happen. And that's the biggest reason why you slip into motion rather than taking action. You want to delay failure. it is easy to be in motion and convince yourself that you are still making progress. You think, I have got conversations going with 4 potential clients right now. This is good. We're moving in the right direction. Or I brainstormed some ideas for that book I want to write. That is this is coming together. Motion makes you feel like you're getting things done, but but really you are just preparing to get something done. When preparation becomes a form of procrastination, you need to change something. You don't want to merely be planning. You want to be practicing. If you want to master a habit, the key is to start with repetition, not perfection. You don't need to map out every failure of a new habit. You just need to practice it. This is first takeaway of the third law. You just need to get your reps in. How long does it actually take to form a new habit? Habit transformation is habit transformation is the process by which behavior becomes progressively more automatic through repetition. The more you repeat an activity, the more the structure of your brain changes to become efficient efficient at that activity. Neuroscientists call this long-term potentiation, which refers to the strengthening of connections between neurons in the brain based on recent patterns of activities. With with each repetition, cell to cell signaling improves and the neural connections tighten. First described by neuropsychologist Donald Hebb in 1949. This phenomenon is commonly known as Hebb's law. Neurons that fire together wire together. Simple law. Repeating, repeating a habit leads to clean physical changes in the brain. In musicians, the cerebellum, the musicians, the cerebellum critical for physical movements like plucking a guitar string or pulling a violin bow is larger than it is in non musicians. Mathematicians, meanwhile, have increased gray matter in the inferior parietal lobe, which plays a key role in computation and calculation. Its size is directly correlated with the amount of time spent in the field. The older and more experienced the mathematician, the greater the increase in gray matter. When scientists analyzed the brain of taxi drivers in London, they found that the hippocampus, a region of the brain involved in spiral memory, with significantly larger in their subjects than in non-taxi drivers. Even more fascinating, the hippocampus decreased in size when a driver retired. Like the muscle of body responding to regular weight training, particular regions of your brain adapts as they are used and atrophy as they are abandoned. Of course, the importance of repetition in establishing habits was recognizing long before neuroscientists began poking around. In 1860, the English philosopher George H. Lewis noted, in learning to speak a new language, to play a musical instrument, or to perform unaccustomed movements, great difficulties failed because the channels through which each sensation has to pass have not become established. But no sooner has frequent repetition cut a pathway, then this difficulty vanishes. The actions become so automatic that they can be performed while the mind is otherwise engaged. Both common sense and scientific evidence agree repetition is a form of change. 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 Each time you repeat an action, you are activating a particular neural circuit associated with that habit. This means that simple putting in your reps in one of the most critical steps you can take to encoding a new habit. Encoding a new habit. It is why the students who took tons of photos improved their skills, while those who theorized about perfect photos did not. One group engaged in active practice, the other in passive learning. One is one is action, the other is motion. All habits follow a similar trajectory from effortful practice to automatic behavior, a process known as automatically. Automatically is the ability to perform a behavior without thinking about each step, which occurs when the non-conscious mind takes over. It looks something like this, the habit line. If I will show the graph, this is the graph of habit line. So I can explain this figure 11. In the beginning, point A habit requires a good deal of effort and concentration to perform. After a few repetitions, point B, it gets easier but still requires some conscious attention. With enough practice, point C, the habit becomes more automatic than conscious. Beyond this beyond this threshold beyond this threshold, the habit line, the behavior can be done more or less without thinking. A new habit has been formed. On the following page, you will see what it looks like when researchers track the level of automatically of an actual habit like walking for 10 minutes each day. The the shape of these charts the, the shape of these charts, which scientists call learning curves, reveals an important truth about behavior change. Habits from based on frequency, not time. Walking 10 minutes per day graph. If I show this health figure is here, similar like habit line. So I will tell that. Figure 12. The graph shows someone who built the habit of walking for 10 minutes after breakfast each day. Notice that as the repetitions increase, so does automatically until the behavior is easy and automatic as it can be. One of the most common question I means author here is how long does it take to build a new habit? But what people really should be asking is how many how many does it take to form a new habit? That is, how many repetitions are required to make a habit automatic? There is nothing magical about time passing with regard to habit formation. It doesn't matter if it is been 21 days or 30 days or 30 300 days. What matter is the rate at which you perform the behavior. You could do something twice in 30 days or 200 times. It is the frequency that makes the difference. Your current habits have been internalized over the course of hundreds, if not thousands, of repetitions. New habits require the same level of frequency. You need to string together enough successful attempts until the behavior is firmly embedded in your mind and you cross the habit line. In practice, it doesn't really matter how long it takes for a habit to become automatic. What matters is that you take the action you make to need to take to make progress. whether an action is fully automatic is of less important. To build a habit, you need to practice it, and and the most effective way to make practice happen is to adhere to the third law of behavioral change. Make it easy. The chapters that follow will show you how to do exactly that. Chapter summary. The third law of behavior change is make it easy. The most effective form of learning is practice, not planning. Focus on taking action, not being in motion. Habit formation is the process by which a behavior becomes progressively more automatic through repetition. The amount of time you have been performing a habit is not as important as the number of times you have performed it. Chapter 12. The law of least effort. In the award-winning book Guns, Germs, and Steel, anthropologist and biologist Jared, Jared Diamond Jared Diamond points out a simple fact: different continents have different shapes. At first glance, this statement seems rather obvious and unimportant, but it turns out to have a profound impact on human behavior. The primary axis of Americans runs from north to south. That is the landmass of North and South America. South America tends to be tall and thin rather than wide and fat. Tall and thin, wide and fat. The same generally true for Africa. Meanwhile, the landmass that makes up Europe, Asia, and the Middle East is the opposite. This massive stretch of land tends to be more east west in shape. More east west in shape. According to Diamond, this difference in shape played a significant role in the spread of agriculture over countries. When agriculture began to spread around the globe, farmers had an easier time expanding along east west routes than along north south ones. This is because locations along the same latitude generally share similar climates, amounts of sunlight and rainfall, and changes in season. These factors followed farmers in Europe and Asia to domesticate a few crops and grow them along the entire stretch of land from France to China. The shape of human behavior. Asia, this is for Asia, east-west orientation, and north-south orientation for North America, South America, and also for Africa. That's figure 13. The primary axis of Europe and Asia is east-west. The primary axis of Americas and Africas is north-south. This leads to a wider range of climate up and downs the Americans than across Europe and Asia. As a result, agriculture spread nearly twice as fast across Europe and Asia than it did elsewhere. The behavior of farmers, even across hundreds of thousands of years, was constrained by the amount of friction in the environment. By comparison, the climate change varies greatly when traveling from north to south. Just imagine how different the weather is in Florida compared to Canada. You can be the most talented farmer in the world, but it won't help you grow Florida oranges in the Canadian winter. Snow is poor snow is poor substitute. You Snow is a poor substitute for soil. In order to spread crops along north-south routes, farmer would need to find and domesticate new plants whenever the climate changed. As a result, agriculture spread 2 to 3 times faster across Asia and Europe than it did up and down the Americas. Over the span of centuries, the small difference had a very big impact. Increased food production allowed for more rapid population growth. With with more people, these cultures were able to build stronger armies and were better equipped to develop new technologies. The changes started out small, a crop that spread slightly further, a population that grew slightly faster, but compounding into substantial difference over time. The spread of agriculture proves an example of the third law of behavioral change on a global scale. Conventional wisdom holds that motivation is the key to habit change. Maybe if you really wanted it, you would actually do it. But the truth is, our real motivation is to be lazy and to do what is convenient. And despite what the latest productivity bestseller will tell you, this is a smartest strategy, not a dumb one. Energy is precious, and the brain is wired to conserve it whenever possible. It is human nature to flow the to follow the law of least effort, which states that when deciding between two similar options, people will naturally gravitate towards the option that requires the least amount of work. For example, expanding your farm to the east where you can grow the same crops holding ra- rather than heading heading north where the climate is different. Out of all the possible actions we could take, the one that is realized is the one that delivers the most value for the least effort. We are motivated to do what is easy. Every action requires a certain amount of energy. The more energy required, the less likely it is to occur. If your goal is to do 100 push-ups per day, it is not. That's a lot of energy. In the beginning, you are motivated and excited. You can muster the strength to get started. But after a few days, such a massive effort feels exhausting. Feeling sticking to the habit of doing one push-up per day requires almost no energy to get started, and the less energy a habit requires, the more likely it is to occur. Look at any behavior that fills up much of your life, and you will see that it can be performed with very low levels of motivation. Habits like scrolling on our phones, checking emails, and watching television steal so much of your time because they can be performed almost without effort. They are remarkably convenient. In a sense, every habit is just an obstacle to get what you really want. Dieting is an obstacle to getting fit. Meditation is an obstacle to feel calm. Journaling is an obstacle to thinking clearly. You don't actually want the habit itself. You what you really want is outcome the habit delivers. The greater the obstacle, the greater the obstacle that is, the more difficult the habit. the more friction there is between you and your desired end state. This is why it is crucial to make your habit so easy that you will do them even when you don't feel like it. If you can make your good habits more convenient, you will be more likely to follow through on them. But what about all the moments when we seem to do the opposite? If we are all so lazy, then how do you explain people accomplish hard things like raising children or starting a business or climbing Mount Everest? Certainly, you are capable of doing very hard things. The problem is that some days you feel like doing the work, and some days you feel like giving it. On the on the tough days, it is crucial to have as many things working in your favor as possible, so that you can overcome the challenges life naturally throws throws your way. The less friction you face, the easier it is for your stronger field to emerge. The idea behind make it easy is not to only do easy things. The idea is to make it as easy as possible in the moment, to do things that pay off in the long run. In the long run, how to achieve more with less effort. Imagine you are holding a garden hose that is bent in the middle. Some water can flow through, but not very much. If you want to increase the rate at which water passes through the hose, you have you have two options. The first option is crank up the value and force more water out. The second option is to simply remove the bend in the hose and let water flow through naturally. Trying to pump up your motivation to stick with a hard habit is like trying to force water through a bent hose. You can do it, but it requires a lot of effort and increase the tension in your life. Meanwhile, making your habits simply and easy is like removing the bend in the hose. Rather than trying to overcome the friction in your life, you reduce it. One of the best effective ways to reduce the friction associated with your habits is to practice environment design. In chapter 6, we discussed environment design as a method for making cues more obvious, but you can also optimize your environment to make action easier. For example, when deciding where to practice a new habit, it is best to choose a place that is already along the path of your daily routine. Habits are easier to build when they fit into the flow of your life. You are more likely to go to the gym if it is on your way to work, because stopping doesn't add much friction to your lifestyle. By comparison, if the gym is off the path of your normal commute, even by just a few blocks, now you're going out of your way to get there. Perhaps Perhaps even more effective is reducing the friction within your home or office. Too often we try to start habits in high friction environments. We try to follow a strict diet while we are out to dinner with friends. We try to write a book in a chaotic household. We try to concentrate while using a smartphone filled with distraction. It doesn't have to be this way. We can remove the points of friction that hold us back. This is precisely what electronics manufacturers in Japan began to do in the 1970s. In the article published in the New Yorker, titled "Better All the Time," James James Ruiki writes, Japanese firms Japanese firms eh, Japanese firms emphasize what came to be known as lean production, relentlessly looking to remove waste of all kinds of the production process, down to down to down to down to down to redesigning workspaces, so workers didn't have to waste time twisting and turning to reach their tools. The result was that Japanese factories were more efficient and Japanese products were more reliable than American ones. In 1974, service calls for Americans color televisions were 5 times as common as for Japan's television. By 1979, it took American workers 3 times as long to assemble their sets. I like to refer to this strategy as addiction by subtraction. The Japanese companies looked for every point of friction in the manufacturing process and eliminated it. As they subtract wasted effort, they added customers and revenue. Similarly, when we remove the point of frictions that sap our time and energy, we can achieve more with less effort. This is one reason tidying up can feel so good. We are stimulously moving forward and lightening the cognitive load our environment places on us. If you look at good services too, best is remove little bits of friction from your life. Meal delivery services reduce the friction of shopping for groceries. Dating apps reduce the friction of making social introductions. Ride sharing services reduce the friction of getting across town. Text messaging reduce the friction of sending a letter in the mail. Like a Jap- like a Jap- like a Japanese manufacturer redesigning their workspace to reduce wasted motion. Successful companies design their products to automate, eliminate, or simplify as many steps as possible. They reduce the number of fields on each form. They pare down the number of clicks required to create an account. They deliver their products with easy to understand direct directions, or ask their customers to make fewer decisions. When the first voice activated speakers were released products like Google Home, Amazon Echo, and Apple HomePod, I asked a friend what he liked about the product he had purchased. He said it was just easier to play some country music than to pull out his phone, open the music app and pick a playlist. Of course, just a few years earlier, having unlimited access to music in our pocket was remarkably frictionless behavior compared to driving to the store and buying a CD. Business is a never-ending quest to deliver the same result in an easier fashion. Similar strategies have been used effectively by governments when the British government wanted to increase tax collection rates. They switched from sending citizens to a web page there where where the tax form could be downloaded to linking directly to the form. Reducing that one step in the process increased the response rate from 19.2% to 23.4%. For a country like United Kingdom, those percentage points represent billions of tax revenue. The central idea is to create to create an environment where doing the right things is as easy as possible. Much of the battle of building better habits comes down to finding ways to reduce the friction associated with our good habits and increase the friction associated with our bad ones. Till then, assalamu alaikum.